Candy Face.
Good
What's up?
morning.
How you doing?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good.
It's been a morning.
Look very
Let's hear. What's
I can't
the
think of any green candy though, so I don't know.
The only one I can think of is not cute.
Key lime something? I don't know.
Sour Patch, Skittles,
Those?
M&Ms.
But they're not exclusively green though.
But there are green M&Ms. Come on.
But not exclusively, meaning like
I
it
guess.
always only comes in green.
I guess.
Key lime pie would be closest, right?
Well, I guess we could invent one.
You ever had that?
Yeah, the pie, not the candy.
No,
I happen
key
to
lime,
actually
yeah.
like green, so yeah.
But I actually remember when Google went through that whole thing where every iteration of Android had it was like a pastry or something.
Really?
Or candy, yeah. So you had Android oh my god. You had key lime pie, Android. Why am I forgetting them now? They just
How
switched
did I miss
recently. They
this?
just switched recently to numbers.
Okay.
Like to 11 and 12 and
Right.
stuff. But it used to be like things like
Did not know
cake
this.
and different tiramisu and
You
I just made that one up because I can't remember the other. Key lime pie is the only one I'm remembering though.
Google it. Google it.
I'll look up the list. So
Let's have some positivity, and then
Yes.
the news that I sent you late last night. So for positivity, I am in charge of my own happiness. I am in charge of my own happiness. Yes, me. I'm in charge of it.
are you hiring?
No one else. No, I'm
Uh-huh.
not. I'm
Okay.
not. I
Just
am
checking.
the only person that's in charge of it. So, do you want to say it or do you want me to say it? Our game last night. The game last night. We
Yeah.
won. We
Yes,
won.
Sharon was just telling me. I was like, yeah, go ahead.
It was lit.
That is what I was bursting to talk about.
Go ahead.
That is what. No, but you go ahead.
So
'cause you're
Sharon
talking-
watches football.
Yeah, but
Sharon is who I
just,
should.
She just told me.
Ah,
Actually.
I sent it on the chat last night.
Yeah, I didn't have time. I was really busy last night.
Oh my goodness.
I had meetings and
The
stuff,
exec that was here yesterday and the entire football association must be bursting with pride.
and a proper trouncing from what I hear.
Congrats, guys.
They
Yes.
gave them a proper trouncing.
Yes. I think it was tied at first.
Mm-hmm.
1-1, and then penalties. So yeah, we won on penalties.
Penalties again.
Yeah. They were beautifully done. Like, yeah, I've been watching them all the time.
Why is that Ninja Man song in my head?
Which one?
Murder them.
Murder them.
In a competition, me I go murder.
Oh my God, I like it. Congrats to you guys. Congrats to the Sugar Boys. Congrats to the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association. To the parents, to the families. Yeah, it was very nicely done.
Oh my
I'm
God.
so proud of them.
Wow, so we're going through.
Yes, and the
4-2-2.
group that we're in is like, woo, yeah, we
And
definitely need.
it says a lot that I should have to talk to someone who knows football, but I guess it probably says something that we can no one gets past each other during the actual game, but then the penalty segment is when we see
Yeah,
the true metal, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
they were pretty nicely executed.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how they must feel. Like I saw a video of them in the locker room, just spraying water and champagne and clothes everywhere
Oh my
and dancing
God.
and screaming, and I can't imagine what they're
Can you
feeling
imagine?
like.
I really hope
It's-
we make it to the Gold Cup, and then we have to come up against the big guys. Jamaica,
well, that's the group we're
Trinidad.
in now.
Yes, Jamaica,
We're
Trinidad.
in with Jamaica, Trinidad, and the U.S.
It almost, when you look at the progression of these qualifications, it's on. Yeah. It's been on since we started. When you look at the progression of especially for qualifications, it almost seems like it makes you think, this thing where they say no good deed goes unpunished. Because it's like, oh yeah, you just beat off all these people, and then you're going in a murderer's row group.
Let me tell you, the
You know?
U.S., Jamaica, and Trinidad, and
Oh my God.
these people are.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you. So
I think the next game is on the 28th.
28th
June
of
28th.
June, yeah.
Yeah, in St. Louis. Yeah.
Who are we playing?
Does it say? No.
Doesn't say.
No.
Oh yeah, I guess it might depend on maybe
Whoever
somebody
qualifies.
else.
Yes, it just says versus St. Kitts Nevis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh
Pretty nice.
Well, that's pretty good. Congratulations to the St.
Sugar
Kitts Nevis.
Boys.
Yes, the Sugar Boys. Wow, that is pretty impressive.
I wonder if they slept last night.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then in other good news, we had the investiture ceremony yesterday up at Government Head House.
Do you have the list?
Yeah, I have the list here.
Nice.
The Companion of the Star of Merit was awarded for long and meritorious service, or for loyal and devoted service to the nation, and that was presented to Eileen Gray for her contribution to education.
I know her. We worked together when I taught.
And she, she was a very, very popular convent school teacher at the time.
Yes, yes.
And
she's a nice teacher.
Yeah, in fact, I haven't seen her in a while.
I haven't either.
Yeah. So I was wondering. I was wondering if she went away or something. So let's see. Oh yeah, so she got awarded for education, culture, and sports. You had Dennis Richards.
Yes.
For
that's my family friend. Congrats, Dennis.
Education, arts, and culture. He's been responsible for designing a lot of artwork.
Quite a bit, stamps as well,
and logos and stuff for Carrie Festa, Carnival, even music festival.
Yeah, he had a recent display when we were doing that stint in Dubai.
Yeah. You've been to Dubai?
Yes. I didn't go to his
I hate you. Oh,
just God, like that. What? It's not all it's cracked up to be. Hot.
I was just actually
really
thinking.
Hot.
Yeah, I was just thinking because you heard about the footballer who. Is it Messi? Yeah, I think it was Messi. I think it's Messi.
Messi didn't want to go.
Yeah,
to Saudi because Ronaldo went there, or
no, his wife. His wife said, "No, I'm not. I'm not going to live in the Middle East for any amount of money."
I thought there's so many rumors swirling around that.
$2 billion.
I thought it was because Ronaldo had recently gone there, and he just felt like it would be overshadowing. But then he took up a gig whereby he becomes part owner of is it LA Galaxy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he took that gig.
Right.
Yeah. But he said it was because his wife.
Oh, wow.
His wife said she didn't want the kids being raised in a place like that. For no amount of money was she gonna have her kids being raised in the Middle East, which I kind of understand.
But is it? I feel like sometimes it's preconceived notions because there are a lot of persons that live there, and in your household you raise your kids how you want. They'll go to school, they'll get the education, but then they come back home and.
Yeah, but that's true. But I mean, it's sort of like you live in this it's like you live in a gilded prison, sort of. So I guess it's
I think I understand a little bit of what you mean.
It's a gilded prison thing, Yeah, it's all nice. A nice AC, golden toilets.
Are we on Facebook? I'm not seeing it. Is it?
Yeah. Facebook is saying.
Sure.
Yeah. So
tell me the other persons that were.
Yeah, that's what I was about to go and do. So we also had Lorraine Brown, Waylon Vaughn, Violet.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Violet Jones, Monaude, and Dr. Lincoln Cathy for their contribution to education.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. Sylvester Charles for education, music, sports, and volunteerism. Maxwell Bass, Senior, for music and security services.
That's controller, isn't it? Yes.
Oh, is that who it is? I was trying to figure out who it was.
Calypso controller.
Okay. Nathan Esdale and teacher Elsie Mills for their contribution to education and religion. Shirley Kelly was awarded for her contribution to nursing education. Lorna Ava Henry for culture and the arts. Lorna, she used to dance with
Okolo. Yeah.
And
Okolo.
worked at culture and she worked at customs as well.
Oh, didn't know that part.
And Pastor Lincoln Connor for nation building and youth development.
Nice.
And, Clement Junior Libert for broadcasting.
Oh, nice.
The late Lloyd Lazar and Kenrick Georges were awarded posthumously for their contributions to education
Mr.
and sports.
Lazar.
Yeah, and arts and music respectively. Meanwhile, the Medal of Honor given to nationals for their outstanding and meritorious service to the nation was awarded to Mabel Morton for community service and entrepreneurship, Clyde Richardson for music and the arts, and James Mickey Frederick was awarded for performing arts and culture. So yeah, there we had it.
Very nice.
Yeah. And then on the downside, we had someone sent me a video of a robbery that happened at a Chinese supermarket. It's right below the thing. So
that is getting so tacky now.
In Old Road.
It's ridiculous.
Last night. Yeah.
I feel like they're just targeting them on.
And coming up in about 4 minutes or so, we should have DJ John Black, aka John Francis, former manager of Steel Pulse. He was the one actually that was responsible for bringing Steel Pulse here to perform in concert.
My dad is obsessed with Steel Pulse. I think I know all of their songs because my dad played them all the time. Okay. Love Steel Pulse. You know, you grow up and it's playing all the time, so you kind of
yeah. It's like under your skin.
Yeah, he had their T-shirts and everything.
Part of your DNA.
Yeah, but Steel Pulse is good music.
Okay, so I'm hoping as soon as he comes, they'll probably let me know.
You see the update with the storm and the submersible. Well, so the storm is headed towards St. Lucia, Martinique area because I saw that they had warnings out for them. Is it warnings or watches? There's a difference. One is a little bit more severe than the other. Yeah.
The watch is a watch or a
warning?
The watch is the lesser one.
And I'm trying to see if it's a watch or a warning. Let's see. I can't pull it up right now, but it's headed that way. So we probably will just get like rain, some heavy wind, nothing major.
And if we get rain, that's not something we should be complaining about. Right?
I know. We definitely need the rain. Just hope it's properly timed.
I know.
Like you can time rain.
It's funny how we want our cake and eat it.
I know. I'm not trying to get wet, man. And then the submersible. Have you been following that?
Yeah. Well, the last thing I saw last night was that they had 32 hours.
Yeah, they have a day left of oxygen.
So they have a day left. Oh my God.
You know.
Well, they said they heard banging last night.
They said they heard sounds.
Some banging last night.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming they were knocking on the.
But isn't it that marine vessels, like, they only go up to 8,000 feet and they've gone to 12?
Yeah, usually those submersibles, something that people don't realize is that submersibles are usually much more hardier in terms of the depths they can go to than submarines. Submarines, like for military, and so you're talking like the most they can go down is maybe a half mile, if so far.
Honestly, I really hope they find them because I just want one of them to give us some type of feedback as to what their thought pattern was.
Yeah, can you imagine?
What are you doing?
I mean, no amount of money. I'm not.
Why you want to see the Titanic so badly?
And Candy, you know what I was thinking. I was thinking. I mean, you know how they say that we know more about our oceans than say the moon and space and so, right?
Yeah, and we still don't know that much.
But I was wondering, how are you spending so much money on a submersible that doesn't even have a toilet?
Listen,
and it doesn't even have proper seats.
You are locked in from outside. I mean, so even when they come up, they gotta really hurry and take them out.
They can't open. Imagine
they can't even get out if they wanted to.
I mean, you're telling me that we don't have the technology where someone can make a halfway decent, much bigger submersible that can actually house people in some semblance.
What Jamster, are we going down there for research or pleasure? It's like you have this money, you don't know what to do with it.
But that's what I'm saying.
How is that even a tour?
But that's what I'm saying. My thing is, if you're spending that kind of money,
the Titanic alone.
I don't care how far down you're going, and all the atmosphere.
You think the money gonna help you float back up to the top?
You know, but my point is, I mean, you're spending that kind of money. You saw what inside that thing looks like.
It's cramped. It's miserable.
I know.
I don't understand it.
Five people in that space. They said it's 21 feet long. It's about the size of a minivan, they said.
Listen, when that man comes up with
and it's controlled with a joystick. A game joystick.
Yeah. And then they're making excuses. They're like, but right now, this like people shouldn't even be saying that the joystick is a bad thing because this is what we control drones and warfare equipment with, and so they're pretty reliable.
Drones are carrying around whole human beings?
Care.
What exactly?
It is a little death trap. It's a death trap. And there's I think one of the persons on board is a 19-year-old.
Yeah, the
If I was his mother,
the Pakistani
when
billionaire
he
son.
came back up with my son, it was gonna be on and popping. What nonsense are you doing?
No toilet. I mean,
I know that's like the worst part.
I mean, what did you have an enema before you went?
Good God.
I mean, what?
Like I wasn't
what,
even thinking about that, but yeah. How long was the tour supposed to be for? Our curiosity always gets the best of us because I don't even understand. There's enough wrecks that you can go look at. There's enough things from the Titanic up for you can go see them in a zoo, like in a museum. Why?
Do you realize it's probably more comfortable on the space station?
It's probably more comfortable on a regular crowded passenger bus.
At least you could open the window and stick your head out to get some fresh air.
I know.
On a passenger bus.
It's just a little bit crazy to me. I don't know. But, to each his own. Everybody has their own fancy, so knock yourself out. I know that's not something I would be interested in. Not for that type of money anyways.
And someone, let's take this call and see what this caller is saying. Caller, what's on your mind?
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. What's up?
I feel good. How you feel good?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Nobody feel good or not, nobody.
No, we even.
That's right. I want to send out the amount of letters that spell the word congratulations to our sugar boys in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and their victory.
Yes.
The amount of letters that spell congratulations, that is the amount of congratulations I'm sending to them.
It's quite a bit. Did you look at the game?
And I thank
missed
them
it.
very much. We are small, but we skillful.
Yeah.
I don't know nothing about no talawa. So they made us feel proud, and I got confidence that they're going to do it again. I'm not counting the chicken them before the egg hatch.
I know, but we're putting out all that good energy and all those good thoughts out there.
And I know they are great. Well, for the temperature that we have these days, I know the eggs cannot spoil.
I've never done poultry farming, so I'll take your word for it.
Okay, then all the best.
Thank you. Have a good day today.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, and I always like when we punch above our weight in a positive way, because sometimes we punch above our weight.
We needed this good news. We needed this with all of the depressing stuff that's been happening. Yes. We so needed this. Yes. Thank you again, guys.
I mean,
well done. The coaches must be beaming from ear
I'm
to ear.
telling you. So I'm expecting good things because they were doing well without that striker that Bergen said was added. Remember the striker?
Yes.
That was added
he got
only
there
yesterday.
late. Yeah, he got in yesterday.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to find out if he made a significant difference, because that's a trouncing, let me tell you. So our friend DJ John Black is here, and we are going to be talking about the journey from Afrobeat to Afrobeats. He had just offered to
nice.
Let me say, edutain the listeners about the rise of African music, and it's timely now because we have Burna Boy and the festival, and I think we had Wizkid before, right? And Davido. So
yeah, we had. I know Davido, but I can't remember. Was Wizkid the year before?
I think it may have been booked, but that might have been the year when, I could be wrong, but that might have been the year when they canceled the festival.
You might be right. I know I saw Wizkid and Rima recently, but I don't remember him being here.
Okay. Yeah, but I seem to think he was booked. But it might have been the year, so that would have been 2020.
So they owe us, yeah.
Yes, it might have been 2020. I think what happened with this festival is that, if you notice, there are at least 2 or 3 people that were actually booked for the festival that was cancelled.
Right, Coffee, I think Chronics.
Yeah. So I think probably what's going to happen is when they're available, they will come.
Yeah, they'll reschedule.
So I think that's what happened definitely with
Well, now is a
Chronics
perfect time
Coffee.
for us to learn about it, so that
exactly.
We can relate when Burna starts and then when Wizkid decides to come
Because I was telling him actually that when I started getting Afrobeat music, right, folders and so on, I was saying, why are they calling it afrobeats? It's afrobeat.
So he'll tell us what the difference
well, that's
is.
what I'm
All
yeah.
right.
So
is he
I
ready?
didn't realize. Just last week I found out. I said, wait, there's a difference. You know, so he is gonna tell us about the journey from Afrobeat, no S, to Afrobeat
with an S.
Yeah.
All right. Are you gonna take a quick break? Let me get him
Yeah,
settled
we'll
in.
take a quick break.
All right. Thank you.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
The climate change crisis is already making millions of people sick and jeopardizing lives. But for us in the Caribbean, young people are among the most vulnerable. Our future is at risk. Taking action now can lead to huge health benefits. The I Deserve a Better Climate for My Health campaign will spotlight real issues from real young people in the Caribbean and give youths a platform to contribute to the solutions for climate change and health. You are not too young to inspire climate and health action.
On Sunday, 25th June, from 3 p.m., journey to the Mediterranean when Carambola Beach Club presents White Sands Grecian Fantasy. Party with the hottest DJs, New Level Sounds, and DJ Terror out of St. Kitts and Nevis, DJ Don Hot of Miami, DJ Ryan Saeed out of Trinidad, and Chromatic Sound out of Jamaica. Turn the party up with high energy performances from our very own Ruckus HE and Davidos. None of them can party like De jour. The Nigerian African beat superstar Feels.
Just want you happiness. If I broke, now my business.
Out of Trinidad, dancehall's finest, Prince Swanee.
She says she have a man, me have a girl too.
And be ready for the hard fet with Bunchy Garland.
I never come here for a stand up. Hey, hey, hey. I come to party with my hand up.
Hosted by Barry Hype. Tickets are just $100 or pay $120 at the door. For tickets, visit www.carambolabeachclub.com. Remember, White Sands is an all-white affair. So, on Sunday, 25th June, bring the vibes to live out your fantasy at Carambola Beach Club, Grecian style.
All soca lovers do this.
It's 8:39 and we've got DJ John Black on deck, and he's here to tell us about the journey from Afrobeat, no S.
Good morning and
Afrobeats.
welcome to Island Tea.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
I feel like I haven't seen you in years. I always call you John Francis. I didn't know there was DJ John.
Yeah,
What's
that's
it, DJ?
that's
John,
one of his
John
hats.
That's one of the many hats.
Don't you see
Several
that?
hats.
You see that's his DJ hat? Don't you see DJ?
They go from English, Godfather,
Hey.
all kinds of names.
Oh my goodness.
But my entertainment thing is John Black DJ.
Well, welcome, Mr. John Black DJ.
Well, tell us a little bit about
your
the
journey,
Steel Pulse
everything.
experience when you managed Steel Pulse.
Oh, that's when I first started in the business. I was a very young man. My first attempt in music business was to manage Steel Pulse back in the day.
What was that like?
That
and
was amazing.
you were responsible for bringing them here to perform Independence.
No, that was with Heroes concert in Nevis.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
that's
I
all-
remember
okay.
that. Yes, yes.
That was that one.
Oh, so you weren't involved with the one back in 1983?
No.
Okay, that was probably before your time.
That
Okay.
was,
It's
that
probably
was after my time.
It was probably in high school still.
So tell us, what are you up to these days? And tell us why you're here today.
Yeah, right now I'm working a lot with, not right now, for the last 8 years, I've been working with Afrobeat. But that was the old form of Afrobeat. That was when it was called Afrobeat. Basically under the genre of world music. Yeah. And then, but in the last couple of years now, I've been working with musicians in Kenya and in Tanzania. Focus in Africa, because I think the future is in Africa.
Right,
it comes down to music. And it's not surprising what's going on at the moment, actually.
Nicely
We can
done.
try and discuss that a little bit about that today.
Right. So I've learned yesterday when we decided, you were going to be on the show, there's a difference. There's a difference between Afrobeat and Afrobeats. So educate us.
Okay. Afrobeat was first termed by a musician called Fela Kuti. Yeah. And if the older ones will know Fela Kuti. He was a jazz musician. He was a political activist, a Pan-Africanist himself. Very well educated and very powerful in social, political terms in Nigeria. He was a pain in the thorn, a thorn in the
side.
The side, or a sword in the side, or a thorn in the head of all the politicians back in the 70s in Nigeria. He was an accomplished musician and he played jazz, exactly, but he did it his way. But he was mainly a jazz musician, the same time as Hugh Masekela, Miles Davis. And the Pan-African movement was very, very powerful in the late 60s, early 70s, because that's when Africa was, the countries were becoming independent, Anyway, so he had lyrics to his jazz because he felt he had something to say. Then he was asked in an interview, I think Rolling Stones interviewed him, and they said, well, what's this music you're playing? It's not funk. It was funky. It wasn't pure jazz because it had rhythms and beats.
Right.
So we called it Afrobeat. And that stuck. And he became the father of Afrobeat as such. Fast forward to today. Okay, we can continue from there. I mean, then other musicians played African music, came through the world music way. People like Youssou N'Dour from Senegal, Mori Kante from Cameroon, Mori Kante, where is he from? From Mali. Manu Dibango, a lot of us know Manu Dibango from, do you remember Michael Jackson?
Yeah, the one that we all sing incorrectly, right?
Yeah. That was taken.
Mama Musa, yeah.
That was taken from Manu Dibango, from his hit. And I think Michael took that, and Manu got a court settlement from that. But he played jazz, that's what, Afro jazz, but it was all under world music. Yeah, and then you had then there was a movement of peoples. Put it this way, back in Africa, where the people consumed music, usually secondhand. They would, a record would be produced in France or in the Caribbean. Take a soca track, for example, where they call it the Arrow, Sparrow, whoever.
Right.
They'd be pressed in the UK. And of course, Africa was a big market for reggae music, African music, that was produced in Jamaica and in the UK and was exported to Russia, exported to Africa. And the people there would get the music 1-2 years afterwards.
Wow.
Yeah.
2 years after.
Yeah, easy. Yeah. 2 years after. I had to wait until the importers, who usually the Syrians or those kind of people who do business in Africa, and then the local people get the music further down the line. That would be the same when it came to actual playing of the music. The music was played by musicians, like in the Caribbean, in hotels and in bars by musicians, as such. So after a while, you had people like Jimmy Cliff, Bob Marley, and all the African greats. The Caribbean greats, they will get their music arrive in Africa a long time after.
Wow. So unless you were in touch with that hotel or, proximity, you wouldn't hear it until
long
after.
But so it left a big market for piracy.
Right,
So
right. Because you're producing it in Africa, but you're not hearing it until...
First of all, the music was produced mainly in France. And in the Caribbean and in the UK. And then exported to Africa.
I'll give you an interesting anecdote to illustrate what you're saying about the long time it took for the music to get back there. I have a Peter Tosh vinyl a record, and I have these albums on CD, so I know. I noticed the album is called, is it called Equalize It? But it's songs from, it's one LP, but it's songs from a whole bunch of different albums. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. They must have done this because it was for EMI Africa, I think.
Oh, yeah. So the record company, what they did, the majors would control Africa, EMI, Decca. They knew that there was a market for Caribbean music in Africa. Yeah. And they would press a few that were popular and then had pressing plants. Like in Caribbean, we had Whirl. You remember Whirl?
In Barbados.
In Barbados. That was EMI. Yeah. And the English, they have the same in Africa. And the French have the same thing.
But Byron had a pressing plant as well. That's how he got a lot of his money in Jamaica.
Really?
Dynamic recording.
So people like Eddie Grant, for example, he made a lot of money from Africa.
I know.
A lot of money. He had a pressing plant in the UK, pressed a lot of records.
Eddie Grant is Guyanese.
From Guyanese, living in Barbados. That's right.
Oh, so he has a pressing plant.
He used to.
He
back
used
in
to
the
really.
Day. Yeah, that's how he made his money. And the people like Virgin Records, Richard Branson, Chris Blackwell from Island Records, who managed Bob Marley. They started their business. The big Richard Branson started his business. The big Virgin Airlines that we hear of today, and Virgin Galactic are going to Mars or wherever. Yes. They made their money in the beginning selling music in Africa.
Yeah. Wow.
But the African government, they realized that a lot of companies were using the music to commit foreign exchange violations. So the African government put a stop on the importation of music into Africa. Mastered and mastered copy. So the government stopped that, so they could stop the flow of money going out of the country. But of course, another important aspect. I'm trying to rush through this. Another important aspect was that they had the movements of people, Caribbean people. That's really important aspect of it. Exactly. Caribbean people. You can see what happened with the Windrush people. You remember that? The Windrush people.
Oh my goodness! How could we forget?
I'm one of those people. I'm a Windrush person.
In fact, they've celebrated.
It's tomorrow.
Anniversary. Is it tomorrow? Yeah.
They had a dinner, some kind of ceremony recently.
Tomorrow. Yeah, it's tomorrow.
No, I saw some pics of something else that they had.
June.
Right.
So they, the people, the Caribbean people, have been going. We know what happened with them, and of course we brought our music over with us.
Of course.
To England, the sound systems, the UK reggae scene. Calypsos, Notting Hill Carnival, all that stuff is going on. The whole culture continued. And then, of course, Margaret Thatcher came along, remember?
Iron
in
Lady.
the 80s. And Iron Lady said, okay, no more migration into England. And what did we do as Caribbean people? We went to Canada, United States, and set up, and we started migrating to those places. Okay, we took our music with us. And what was going on there? We had soca going there. By then it was dancehall. Most of the people who went to Caribbean people who went to America didn't take roots reggae music with them. They didn't take. They took mainly dancehall with them. In America right now, roots reggae music is played mainly in big festivals.
Yes.
In the deserts, there's reggae on the desert, reggae on the river, on these kind of places. So, but of course, in the inner cities, dancehall took root. And of course, dancehall met with hip-hop. Yeah, and hip-hop itself has its roots back in Africa.
Right.
If you listen to Fela Kuti, he's hip-hopping. And there's a great quote from the great Quincy Jones, when Quincy Jones was asked about what he thought about hip-hop. Quincy Jones says hip hop is from Africa. Check that quote.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So okay. So now we're in the States, and we're not in the UK. The UK thing is going on. We've got Steel Pulse, and we've got the UK reggae scene is going on. The black people of the Caribbean is going to America. They're going to Canada, and they're listening to dancehall and hip hop. And and we know what happened. And then, of course, soca music is going there as well.
Right.
With the carnivals and the
and all of
Caribana
that.
and everything else like that. Okay, so there you go. That's happening. And out of that, at the same time, technology is happening. Okay, so Africa is not getting records, music being sent into Africa anymore since the 1980s. But of course, they're pirating the music. They're getting it on cassette, they're getting it on whatever. And then by about 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, you can now get it streaming.
Right.
But there's one other important factor that's happening there also, is that technology is happening. So back in the day, when you had a studio in Nigeria, in Ghana, South Africa, whatever, you had to wait until you got a vinyl record, you heard a record on the radio, and as a producer, what did you do? You went home and you played something like it.
Yes.
If you were playing in those hotels we talked about later, you do a cover version to the tourists.
Right, right.
Fast forward to 2000s now, we have file sharing. Mm-hmm. We have the DX7, we have
Remember
keyboards.
that Napster thing?
You have Napster. Okay. And then you have young people who are no longer playing in hotels. They're making music in their bedroom, like all young people around the world. Okay, so they are filing shares. We have hip hop happening in the States. We have soca music going on. We have dancehall happening, and of course now the African kids to the internet, they can hear in real time the music that's being produced and released. They don't have to wait 2 years.
Good grief, yes.
To start writing songs. So for like 20 years, the creativity of African music was stifled, because there was people producing. They couldn't get the music. But now come the internet, they can get the music. Okay, so they get the music, they could hear it online, they can then play it.
And then also, you can point to the obvious influence of the R&B and hip hop from the US on the African music, because listen to the beat I'm playing as a bed here. It is last.
Yeah. I'm coming to that.
Candy, you know where the song comes from?
Don't even
right?
play with me. I'm a Tony Braxton fan.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Try it.
Okay.
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. We're getting there. So if all of you who are listening, hold tight. We're getting there. We're almost there. So
she's on top of things.
She's really on top of it. She knows her stuff. She knows about Eddie Grant. That's very good.
Yes.
So, Eddie Grant was my mentor, by the way. He was the man who put me into this business as a professional back in the day.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, so where are we? The kids in Africa are now hearing music, they're producing music in real time. They're getting files of, but hip hop and soca and reggae, it all works for African kids.
Right, because they're all influences
all
and
influences.
they can relate.
And they've been moving with people. When music moves with people, it's very different than when music is just copied. When groups of people are moving and taking their culture with them, that's real movements. And that's what's happened with African music. It's moved with the people from Africa, from slavery into the cotton fields of South America, of the southern states of America, in the Caribbean, carnivals, in whatever, blues, up into gospel, country and western. All that's rooted in African music, Wow. And then, of course, we got soul, R&B. It's all African. So this movement has been going with the people for the last 300 years. Okay. So suddenly the kids today, in Africa, they're at the pinnacle of this 300 years of music culture moving around from Africa, and they can pick it all up in real time, and they pick up soca, calypso, reggae, dancehall, and they put it all together on their keyboards, and they put in their wonderful lyrics. You cannot beat an African lyric. When a guy says on a lyric, it gives me pimples as I say it. He says, if you cheat on me, if I cheat on you, I'm sorry. If you cheat on me, it's okay.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. That's a lyric.
That is insane,
That's
but
a lyric.
okay.
It's a lyric. And that's the type of thing these African kids are saying. When you listen to their lyrics, they're saying they're real poets. And they're using, because the African language is very poetical, and they use the language they have in a certain way. Listen to all the Afrobeat kids.
Listen,
and they've got amazing lyrics.
I have this song where a guy named Naira Marley, right?
Yeah.
I think he lives in the UK, but he goes back and forth.
Afrobeats?
Yeah, and I've been playing it. Guess what the name of the song is? And it's one of those things where I got, God, I should have thought of that. You know, Cyndi Lauper's song, Girls Just Want to Have Fun?
Mm-hmm.
The name of this song is Girls Just Want to Have Funds. Funds. I'm like, every time I was like, oh my God, I should have thought of that.
So these kids, they're really good, and they use their culture.
Yeah.
And so
I love that it's now accessible to us.
It's what?
I love that it's now accessible
Of course,
to us. I
it's-
felt
of
like
course.
we were out of the loop for so long.
Yeah, it's now there. And I mean, down at my bar, for example, I'm down at Godfather in Big Plug in South Fries, but I've been playing Afrobeat there for years, you know.
Wow.
And people, sometimes, you know, as a DJ, you go and you play music out, and our people, especially Kitchens, they think we have the best music in the world. St. Kitts is the best music. We're the best musicians. Small Axe the best band in the world, you know, and so is New Vibes, best band in the world, you know. But we don't listen to anything else. We don't want to. But when you play some Afrobeats, they keep their mouths shut. They have nothing to say
And it pulls
except
out
pull
that rhythm and
in
everything
them.
in you. Like you
Yeah.
can't sit still. Just
Because
yesterday I
it's
was
us.
telling my
It's
staff,
us.
I was like,
You're going to feel it.
who goes to a music festival or a concert and stands still? Like even if you don't know the song, the beat, it will make you move.
What happens when Boona Boy come on there? You're going to have people dance.
Yes.
In music festival, it's the first 20 rows of people. I guarantee you, everybody. It's going to be like what's his name, Buju. It's going to be like
yes,
Buju.
yeah. And he
Bantam.
Burna Boy recently did another one with Brandy's, one of Brandy's songs.
Yeah.
And there's just this guy, Innocent. Do you know Innocent?
Yeah.
I discovered him because I look at a show called Young Famous African, and he sang a couple popular songs, but I didn't know he's an African artist as well. So they're bridging the gap big time.
So here's where the gap gets really narrow now. Okay, so the kids are playing, the producers are playing, kids are playing the music, producers are getting it, they're putting good lyrics together, they're taking all the Caribbean flavors and bringing it together in real time. Okay, now we had what's his name, Davido,
yeah.
Davido become Davido.
Yeah.
He is in the States and he did a wonderful job 5-6 years ago.
In fact, he was on the Juneteenth concert on Monday night on CNN.
And he was here.
Yeah.
Yes,
you
he-
know.
yes,
He did a
he
great
was
job, and he worked with the diaspora, you know,
Yes.
and that was how he
Smart.
made it. Very smart, you know, and created concerts in all the universities in the States, and you know, and pushed to get everything else going. So right, fast forward to today, if people are still hanging on to this thread, is that when the music started becoming popular, that people are playing it in the vans, playing it at bus stations. And now, if you go out and listen to St. Kitts or anywhere where the black people are, you don't hear dancehall anymore. You don't hear reggae music. You hear Afro beats everywhere.
Well, when did we add the S? Why the
That's
S?
what's coming. All right. So people ask all the time, okay, Billboard, the music industry, started noticing that this thing is happening and we can't ignore it. The music business tend to ignore things that are black because, you know, let's not get into racism in music industry.
You would think they would have learned that we're the innovators and
but-
they should pay attention, right?
But once they admit that, then they have to give up a lot of royalties, which they won't want to do. The industry knew that they had hits, and a couple of people, I can't remember the names, but they lobbied Billboard heavily for them to put in a special genre to cover everything. And eventually Billboard cracked. And the reason they cracked was they said that the DJs, you know, DJs love genre. you need a genre.
Yes.
Because you have so many tracks to choose from. The DJs are the ones and the people in the radio stations.
They're the tastemakers.
Yeah, they're the tastemakers. It's easier for them to deal with genre, So they didn't have anywhere to put this music. It wasn't world music. It wasn't jazz, and it wasn't pop as itself, as we know pop was. So then they said, we call it afrobeat. But then the intellectuals started thinking, well, how could it be afrobeat? Afrobeat is Fela Kuti.
Because and they're thinking you're conflating it with the giants from the 70s and so on.
Yeah. So it's not going to work. Right. So then they quickly said, okay, we'll put on Afrobeats. So we call it.
So there's a distinction.
That's the genre, Afrobeats.
Who are some of your favorite artists?
The Afrobeat? Wow, who do I like?
Maybe I can pick up a few new ones. Let's hear.
I don't have any particular ones I say my favorite, but because it's very, we have people like Burna Boy and techno. Their stuff sounds really good because they have expensive studios. They're produced in the UK, and they sound much more polished. But you got some really great kids, Rima, he's fantastic. And people are going for those lyrics we spoke about before, and these wonderful performances, these great voices that's coming out.
Yes.
So I don't have any one particular one I like. I just love the genre.
Okay.
Nice. So I'll definitely have to pop by your bar so I can probably pull some new names.
The Godfather, Beach Bar, South France Bay, everybody.
Yeah,
okay, John, I don't know if you. Okay, we have to have. You see, you came
There's
late.
a slated segment.
Yes, so I don't know if you want to hang on and you come back for another 15 minutes. So we'll do family report.
So we'll bring you back in a few.
Yeah, people's ears need to rinse out.
So you just come over here, keep me company. And then,
okay. All right.
Yeah, and we'll probably drop some songs when you pop back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I'll see you in a few.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye-bye.
From the South, 98.9.
Buildings damaged by an earthquake are dangerous. This is not the time for sightseeing. You could be in personal danger and your presence could hamper emergency responses. Also, stay away from areas prone to landslides, low-lying coastal areas, lakes and streams that lead to the ocean. Do not head for the coast until local authorities tell you that the danger of a tsunami has passed. Curiosity can kill.
This message is sponsored by the Australian Government, AusAid, and produced by NEMA in collaboration with WINNFM.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Music's finest artists converge in Bastille from June 22nd to June 24th for the 25th hosting of the St. Kitts Music Festival. Hitting the festival main stage will be Skillibeg, Chronix, Coffee, Byron Messiah, Anthony B, Governor, Romaine Virgo, TJ, Valiant. Them boy don't got no bodies. Grand Masters, Collision Band, Small X Band, New Vibes Band International, Mr. Bagdal, Akayu Sweet, Preedy, Guess the Band, Ricardo Drew, Patrice Roberts, Skinny Fabulous, Nyla Blackman, Status. Erica Edwards, 313 Family, Gramps Morgan, Nitra B, Ear Supply, Dexter Daps, and Burner Boy. It's the 25th edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival from June 22nd to June 24th at Warner Park. An experience like no other. Tickets are now available at stkittsmusicfestival.com.
5 minutes after 9 o'clock, and it's time for Farm Report. And joining us again is Mishak. And we had a very engaging time with Mishak last week.
Good
and
morning.
He is back.
Welcome back to Island Tea. See, we broke the we broke the stigma on this one, right? No more. You don't mind coming on and educating us.
Well, good morning and thank you for having me again. So we're here.
You're more comfortable this week. So yeah, tell us what you will educate us about today.
Good morning, everyone. Those of you who are in radio and listening by way of internet. Again, my name is Mishak Alford, and I'm here representing the Consortium of Farmers and Food Producers and Syndicats. Last week, while we were here, we went over a number of matters that included the organization itself, who we are, where we're coming from, what we want to do, and so on, and our general outlook and philosophy concerning the agricultural sector and its advancement. We also indicated in that session last week that we had a meeting that day with the minister. Of course, we had that meeting, and we can also touch on those issues going forward. So basically, today is more of an update on those kind of things. All right?
Okay, then. So we'll get right into it. I am happy to hear that you guys have had a meeting. Mm-hmm. So was it successful?
Yeah, the meeting did happen. The meeting was scheduled for around 5:30, 6 o'clock that afternoon. And, we went into that meeting with the understanding that we would get a good chance of sitting down and meeting the minds of the ministry officials. We met with the minister, Samuel Duggins, the permanent secretary, Miguel Fleming, the director and deputy director of the department, and so on. I was joined there by other members of the steering committee of the consortium, and we did engage on a number of matters. I must say we touched at least on 3 or 4 key points of concern to farmers, and we were able to go through them at length.
Good. I am happy to hear that. Mm-hmm. Finally, we're getting some movement.
Yeah, well, the conversation is important. We said that, and we've been saying that from the beginning. Mm-hmm. We have to have dialogue. We have to have engagement at the highest levels possible. And again, this dialogue has to be pointed, has to be in a direction to achieve much on behalf of farmers, at least on behalf of our membership in particular.
And I might add, it should be mature too. I mean, we shouldn't be having a situation that we had when we started the farm report, where we were getting reports from what's his name again?
Landers.
Yeah, that people were in their feelings because the farmers were just talking about stuff that was happening that they needed fixed.
The voice is important.
Yes.
You won't know something is wrong unless somebody says something.
Exactly.
Yeah, and speaking of the voice, that was the main and the first issue on the agenda for discussion. It was the longest point of discussion. We understood that would be the case because you are now going into space, uncharted territories as it relates to farming and the agricultural sector. We look at the issue of voice in terms of advocacy, but also when we were here last week, we spoke about our own mantra in terms of going into lobbying and also networking amongst our group. But lobbying meant that we would be sitting in every corridor of leadership and authority as it relates to this. And we wanted to discuss voice in terms of partnership. One of the things that we identified early on was that, it's easy and quick to say you would have consulted with farmers. But if you even look at the basic model for participation, we want to participate in this sector. We want to collaborate. We want to partner with the Ministry of Agriculture and other partners. And so if you're just consulting, when you look at the Einstein model of participation, you realize how far down on the ladder consultation is. Consultation is basically hearing persons' opinions and views. Normally this takes the form of survey questionnaires, opinion polls, public meetings, and so on. And so you're not really certain in those kind of environments that what you're saying as a farmer, a farming community, will be taken on board. There's no guarantee of that. And so we believe in getting more established systems, mechanisms for engagement, to be a part of the policy boards and so on that are to be there. And so not just setting up simple mechanisms, just to say that we're having those mechanisms, that's placating. But if you want to be serious, you're talking about being able to share, allowing farmers to share in the decision-making processes, especially on those matters that are fundamentally affecting them in the day-to-day achievement of their livelihood. Right? So we did go into those discussions last week.
Good. Good. How did that go?
As I said, it was the longest. It was the longest part of our discussion. It was that way because we believe we had to stress it, and we understand that the culture and the appetite for it is not necessarily there, and that is expected given the long history that we've had with the ministry and in general, and it's not particular to this set of young leaders who are in the ministry now. Is something that has been there time immemorial, and we're trying to see how can we change this course.
Yeah, generally speaking, people don't really want you to come and say, this is what you're not doing, this is what you're doing incorrectly. I mean,
so we want to say, like, let us partner on these matters. Let us put together what we said we wanted to do, and we presented in discussion to the minister and the rest of the leadership there, is that there should be some kind of board, a mechanism that has the representation of farmers, or where farmers could make representation on behalf of farmers, looking at policies and coining policies on behalf of the community itself and so on, with the involvement. And if you have a group or an organization that is going to be engaging with its members and so on, it's ideal to have that set up.
Exactly.
And it's in your favor, actually.
Right. Because they're bringing it directly now from, instead, there's like one less person in, or one bit less gap. That person is going to get it from the consortium, and they're going to bring it to the board, and they're now organized, and they're going to bring it to the.
Yeah,
it
so
makes perfect sense.
I mean, when we consider the seriousness of a situation, we have to look of what is the importance really of having such a structural body in place. I mean, the engagement with farmers in terms of to create policy on behalf of farmers and food producers as a whole is going to come off a bit ad hoc. Right. If we even look at the COVID-19 pandemic crisis that we had, right? You see that farmers are called to the ministry to ask again their opinion. That's consulting, right? If you had a standing body in place, right? The manner in which things will be done would not be so willy-nilly in a sense, and that is why as soon as the crisis kind of dissipate, also too, the engagement dissipated as well. And so we believe that this has to be a continuous thing if we are going to really achieve food security for our islands, St. Kitts and Nevis. We're going to have farmers at a higher level of involvement, and participation partnership at least should be the goal at this time.
Wow.
Okay,
I would have loved to be a fly on the wall in that meeting.
What was the minister there?
Yes, he was. He's the
okay.
principal person who we're engaging with. In the end, there was a general acceptance of the idea. I think what we need to work out and flesh out now is what does that mechanism look like, and what are the focus areas. At least as a start, we are going to be waiting on, I guess, a response. Our call from the permanent secretaries, so that we could begin at least those kind of technical kind of sit down. And some people believe that you could come to a meeting and just prefer solutions. So these things we have to work through. And we should work through these things together. The meeting of the minds is better. And that's why one of the major things that we are saying about the organization itself is that we don't want to just speak with a singular voice, like my voice or just the other farmers in my voice, but just speaking with the tongues of men and women.
I like that.
So the multitude as much as possible, and we believe if we can organize at the level, the grassroots organizing, if we can do that, we can bring those sentiments, we can bring those knowledge, that knowledge, that experience, some 30 years. I mean, I was on with a farmer this morning on the way up, same gentleman who called in last week, in fact, and he was telling me some 30 years, since in the 1990s he has been in this thing. He has had numerous and varied experiences as it relates to the farming sector, multiple failings, and multiple successes. And I think all those can come to bear in terms of the policies that we put in place, because these guys have actually gone through the real rough and tough of this whole issue. And so as it relates to how we want to be involved, I believe that what we're doing is not unique.
Right.
It is not new. It's not a novel idea. It might be uncharted waters for the agricultural sector, but we have bodies here in St. Kitts and in Nevis who are doing similar things on behalf of its members and the particular community that they represent. We have the Chamber of Industry and Commerce. We know that organization was established sometime in 1949 to look at the interests of small businesses, this post-war era, and the concerns with the local private sector and the struggles we were going through. And so there are organizations like that, including as well the Christian Association, the Evangelical Association. There are a number of associations around who seek to do things at the national level in order to influence policy or decision making.
So there should be no difference.
So there's no real difference and so forth. So we're not challenging authority. We're not seeking to take anything from anybody in particular. In fact, in our discussions, we are making sure to emphasize, even to our membership, even those groups like the cooperatives and so on, that we don't want ownership of your group. We just want to establish a unity of command as it relates to addressing issues from a farmer's standpoint, and to have that oneness of voice on some of these issues. I think it's going to bear fruits for us in the long run.
I love to hear it. So you said the voice was the first and probably the biggest thing that you guys had to tackle.
We would have had to go back and forth on the matter, if I may be frank, because as I said before, it was to be expected. I think they would have expected. Well, maybe they didn't have that, but we would have presented that aspect of it in a meeting before.
Right.
So we want to make sure that is still a staple item in the discussions going forward.
I feel like it's the first time they're actually seeing the consortium work, and they probably were blown away. Like, they probably were not even expecting it to be that intense.
Well, I think the room was a very settled one.
Good.
We would have met in different, at different locations before, different events. So, now and then you get a chance to blitz them on certain matters and so on. At least now this was a really good way of sitting down and actually working out, at least in the first instant, what is it we really mean.
Right.
Sometimes you have conversation with these persons in passing by. But to start the process in a formal way, to organize, to set up a meeting, and you have that done, and you sit down and you begin to engage on it, I think that allowed for that first start. I think, as I say, it's a first start. It's not an achievement in my mind.
Right.
We still have a lot of work to do, I believe, and I'm trying to encourage the ministry, the departments, the minister himself to be open to the concept and the idea, and let us see where we can take us. I believe that all of us stand to benefit in this regard, including them.
Is there a kind of default timeline that maybe was imposed, or something that flows naturally out of the meeting, where you can say, well, oh, this is going well, or this isn't going well?
Timeline in terms of the same mechanism to set up for the board?
Yeah, in terms of starting to see results that actually...
we did ask that question. There's some hesitation in putting that on, because once you put a timeline, you have to give an account later on, and the natural thing is to push back initially, especially if we don't have a full understanding of what this thing is going to look like. That is why we are hoping that at least from the technical, not the minister level, but at least the level of the technical persons, that we could have another sit down sooner rather than later, to work out at least the schematics of this thing. At least we can see how this can work, who should be involved in it. Not just farmers and processors, right, but also we might want to have in an economist or somebody from the banking sector as well to help shape this animal that we want to create.
But do you get the sense that he's sincere and that he genuinely wants the...
What a question.
I mean, it's a fair question.
Yeah, we definitely hope so.
He ain't Jesus.
Yeah, we definitely hope so. We really hope that they're sincere in the exchange, because we had no serious and outright objection to what we were saying. All right? I think proof will be in the pudding in terms of what happens in the follow-up engagements with these partners. And so we'll see in a month's time, we'll see in the next 6 weeks' time what happens, what transpires.
Now, folks, if you want to give us a call, you want a call for Meshach on the farm report, the numbers are 662-0989, 762-0989. Let's go straight to the phone lines. Farm report, you're on.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
How are you?
Morning, Mr. Alford.
Morning, sir.
Mr.
Hi.
It's $1 billion question you just asked, Mr. Alford, you know. Because I can tell you something. About 3 weeks ago, the man from agriculture and myself, from the meeting we had with the minister himself, some directives was given. They was told to come up on my farm to see what's going on. He gone about 3 weeks now since they done left my farm, and it's like they left me on my own. I can't farm at all because cat up here done broke down my fence and all of that. And then they want to say, well, they control of the same cattle, make the owners them and them kind of things. If that ain't happen, I can't farm. I got drip lines and all them kind of things. Well, the man, they're dragging the foot, the sub-main line, and my drip lines are still being destroyed by the animal hooves. They understand the continuous thing going on. It's like some kind of the minister got against me. I see it directly because it happening constantly. Because the directives came from my extension officer. He had to reach to him too. They may want to keep up no more time. Respect, good morning.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
you could hear the pain in the voice of the farmer, and I know exactly what that feels like. Literally know what that feels like. There's nothing like coming back to your farm and see that all of your investments in irrigation infrastructure and fencing got destroyed in just a mere hour or two. And you know what it took to not only buy those things, invest in those things, but also to put them down and so on. I mean, and that is why in that same meeting we were trying to get some update, because we had a prior discussion with the permanent secretary about extension service, except from the department itself.
Who is the permanent secretary now?
That's Miguel Fleming.
Miguel Fleming.
Yeah, so we were trying to, because we had some discussions prior, and he would have indicated that they would be revamping the services, the extension services. Unfortunately, by this meeting, they would have wanted to finish that off by May. And so this meeting is actually in June, but unfortunately they weren't able to start that process as yet. And I don't want to trivialize how important it is for to have extension services offered to the farming community, because that's one of the questions we asked very early on, because this same, I think might have been the same caller, but the person who called me this morning at least told me.
Hold on. Something pretty often with that issue actually.
The caller?
Yeah.
I think
Farm
I know the
report,
voice
you're
by
on.
now.
Farm report, you're on.
Greetings, Island T.
Good morning.
I do forgive the feedback a while, but I didn't want to miss a word. Farming. We just hear what we just hear a while ago with the bridging there. Them things that you mean to say? From this time when we hear that same caller complaining about what he's going through as a farmer, you mean to say up to the time? What did it be? 21st of June?
Yes.
Eh?
Yes, it is.
That's the date. 21st of June 2023. We are still hearing that. And we are talking about food security up to the year 2025. I mean, what are we really dealing with? That's why, the farming thing, if you come out of hands of government, man. If you come out of hands of government past and present administration, not in their involvement in farming,
seems to be taking farming as just a talk shop. Yeah. And farming is not about talking, you know. Food security is not about talking, you know. It's about making it happen. A touchable reality. And you know, when we look on the eating habits around here, we connect everything, you know. Because the eating habits around here, people are using their teeth to dig graves. And hey, Joe. And Joe.
Again, you know, again, the frustration and the pain.
And the passion.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, the caller that called first hit the nail on the head. That's why we were asking about how effective is the extension services. I mean, I get complaints all the time about not seeing extension service worker on their farm in months and never, you know. And so these are things that we have to really get better at, you know. And so somebody's have to be held to account on some of these issues, because they're hurting people that is very cool. This is people's livelihood, and it has to be taken seriously, because farmers are businessmen of their own right. And so unless we are going to engage with farmers in a different way, as I said, having them participating at the highest levels in decision making, share that space, then we are not going to be saying anything going forward, because it's only in that space you could be really influence policy as it relates to the other areas, extension service being one of them, financing and so on being in the other. In fact, financing is the second pillar item that we discussed in that same meeting last week, because what we're trying to push to them is, I mean, once we have a voice, it kind of like a bulldozer, it clears certain things out of the way. You know, and what we're saying, it has to have genuine dialogue, and we're hoping that we're having genuine dialogue. One of the discussions we've had as it relates to the financing aspect of it, what we are proposing essentially is that not only the ministry work as a facilitator in terms of the dialogue between the farming community and the banking sector, the lending agencies and so on, but also too, there have been examples in other countries and even here under different sectors where the government would have put together like a trust, something of a trust to act as a security, because we understand that how the bank sees farmers as a very risky, you know, traders, risky operators. And so, you know, how do we overcome that in the short term, medium term, and in the long term? And so one of the first things we have to work out, what does the ID mean? What does a farmer's ID connotes to the banking community when we carry it? What does it say? And so we have to flesh out all these things.
Right, because you got to change the way they view it so that they can take you seriously, and you're open to the same opportunities like every other sector.
Exactly.
And I feel like that is a major part of the disconnect.
Exactly.
People are not understanding the importance. And it's almost as if we have a saying, play dead to see what funeral you're going to get. It's like withdraw yourself, pull back, and let them understand how important you are. Like if the garbage collectors don't come.
Exactly.
You know, that type of analogy. Yeah. And it's unfortunate because it's something that we've been pushing for. I mean, we've only recently started this show, and we've already been so ingrained in it and almost feeling the same pain that you guys are, and you guys have been going through it for years.
Yeah, I mean, if a guy is going to tell you he's been in this thing since the 1990s, over 30 years, I mean, and he's been going to the same struggle.
It is madness.
Not different struggles, the same struggle for the last 30 years.
That's impossible.
It shows no real progress. And we are also asking that same meeting for, you know, that we could get some kind of loan system set up, a revolving facility, you know, because credit, finance, agricultural credit is absolutely critical for farmers to move forward, because we're trying to establish some independence. I mean, nobody wants to seem to have to beg somebody all the time for something. You know what I mean? Going to the ministry and you give us a little handouts here and a little handouts there. The people want to be able to, you know, manfully walk as man and woman up to a supplier
respectable
and
businessmen,
get
yes,
their stuff and be able to carry out what they're trying to carry out, and having finance at the beginning, right, kind of clear that path for them as well. And so we're saying at least in the beginning stages, allow us small loan facilities that allows them to get that allow them to get their inputs and so on going, and that facility can be a revolving one.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Isn't the Minister of Agriculture the same minister over small businesses?
Yeah.
And they've been creating facilities for small businesses, because I've been tapping into everything that they've been putting out. I pay attention. I try to see how best I can angle my businesses type of thing. So.
Yeah, we touched on that briefly in terms of what that small business ministry is doing and so on. Of course, I believe they're still in the kind of structuring phase of that as well. So it's not fully there as to where I guess the minister envisioned it. But I have also in my capacity as the president of the consortium have very brief exchanges with officers in that ministry, especially when they had the agricultural open there, that we would like, and this is in tandem with the whole banking thing, that farmers are considered unbankable in many respects, right? The risks that involved, they don't take good records, but that's also pervasive for all other businesses as well. That happens, right? What we're saying is, how can we reduce or improve your confidence in us? We can't do that without your involvement. Therefore, let us start at the beginning. All right, I've been repeating this time and time again, in our conversation with the bank, with the government, with farmers. If I know that I am not 100% there to say I am bankable, but I know at the farming community, the Ministry of Agriculture, they have records that I am a farmer. I have an ID to suggest that. The extension officer can prove that I am a farmer, a legitimate farmer.
That's
where I make my livelihood. That's where I get my money to pay my bills and to look after my family and everything else. Then it should count for something. You're right. And so if I want a loan of $100, but you're not too certain about giving me that $100, then you would say, at least then give me $25, but approve the 100, right? And so you give me a pathway now that over the next 3, 4, 6 months, that I could begin to improve my recording, my systems, making sure I'm passing my money to the account often enough to develop that history with you. And so that could only happen if we are able to sit down and work these things out with the farming community and the banking sector, with the assistance of agriculture acting as a facilitator in this process. Not that we're waiting on the government to do that, because we've started that process of reaching out. Right, as I said before in the last meeting, we reached out to the Development Bank, reached out, trying to organize a second meeting. We had an initial meeting to say what we want to do.
Right.
We want to have a more sit-down meeting with the First Federal Credit Union there. So hopefully we can get that in the week to come or the following one, once the festivities have kind of calmed down.
Your work cut out for you.
Your lobbying for credit seems to suggest that the existing paradigm for agricultural financing at the Development Bank needs work. Then
it does. It does. They have a particular mechanism now. We are trying to. I think they allow up to about 25,000 at about 2.5 interest, which is good. Also to
2.5.
2.5. But then you still have to consider whether a farmer will matriculate to meet that and so on. And so we've been pushing on behalf, using our functionaries in the organization to push on behalf of those persons who are actually applied.
Okay.
That was a discussion point in one of our meetings last night, actually.
So does the same culture that applies at the let's say the conventional financing institutions like the banks and so on, where they look at, they give farmers a side eye, is the same?
Treat it as a flat, like anybody else.
Like anybody else.
Right,
whereas you think that farmers should be treated differently.
The risk involved and so on. Again, too, you would not get the amount you want easily, because you will have to prove a number of things. All right. If you hear the stories of the farmers in terms of some of them turn away at the beginning stage when they realize how much things I have to bring to the table right now, because it's prohibitive for them. All right, and they know they have not had their record keeping done well. As I said before in our previous meetup, that even me sometimes when I make when I receive a payment on supplies delivered, because I know I have to go and buy some stocks, sometimes I go straight and I buy them and take them to the farm. But then I should have passed that money to the bank so that even if you're taking it off the same day,
just for record's
it's
sake,
recorded, and so you have a history. I said I believe, and I discussed with the guy from the small business sector ministry, that we would like to see a settled down engagement, discussion, work session between Development Bank, your ministry, and the farmers, at least our membership, as a start, so that we could begin to capacitate or even give these people the necessary knowledge and know how to do it. And even if they can't, we can identify persons in our organization who will be able to assist these people with that kind of work and so on. I guess, and as I said, this is going to require much.
So, do you have a blueprint? Do you have a blueprint for blueprint of suggestions about how they should go about doing a bespoke financing, let's say, template for farmers?
No. What we are saying at this stage, as it's a learning process for both ends. We see what their requirements are. For example, when Development Bank came to the organization about a month ago, they would have come with that sheet that says you need to have all these things before you can get access to a loan.
Right.
All right. And again, there was a bit of hostility in the exchange from some of the farmers and so on. But as I said, you recognize that this has been the nature of the engagement going forward from Sister in Memorial. But what we're saying, as you look at that exchange, that we need to learn from them, and they also need to learn from us. And so the first aspect of this is to really go out and put ourselves out there to sit down with these people to, as I said, have a meeting of minds, so that we could begin now to do what you're saying, essentially. So we're doing our research, we're doing our reading, we have ideas. What I suggested to you there is things that are practiced in other places, in other jurisdictions. And so we think that given the opportunity, we could carve out something. I'm not saying to...
would you actually reach out to the other banks as well?
Yeah, we will.
Of course. It only makes sense.
Yeah.
Because he said Development Bank and then First Federal. So to my mind, exactly, just approach all of them.
Yeah, I think the process of engagement, as I said, we're touching lightly and we're learning, because not only the banking sector we're reaching out to, we also want to reach out to those international agencies who are partners here, like AIC and them. Have already reached out to the head person here and St. Kitts to because they do capacity development sessions, and we can get certain things that we're looking to get even from the bank. It could be a joint thing. So one person might bring the bread, somebody bring the meat kind, somebody bring the
Because I think Jeff did something with the Gideon Force Flex persons. They did like a reservoir type thing.
So and those are and what happened with those kind of like Jeff's Smart Ones program. I used to be somebody on that committee. I was a member of that committee. I don't know the position if I had one, but I was in the process, like reviewing some of those applications when they come in and so on. And I've written Jeff proposal before, at least for a community day in Mansion. And many groups would not have the innate capacity to do these things. All right. And if you're dealing with a farming community, these people spend a lot of time on their farms. And so by the time they come off their farm, they don't really have time for it and so on. And so we are considering all these things. That's why we believe that we will have to reach out. Some groups get somebody who is versed in project proposal writing to write that for them and so on. So so we can always work through some of those same organizations as well.
We need to make this program an hour.
Yes.
We're definitely over time, but it was so engaging and informative.
I had one last issue I wanted to say.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
One was regarding we also touched on the duty free. We had asked for duty free on fuels, particularly because the tractor operators, the people with equipment and so on, to provide the land preparation service. We know that we have had a serious struggle with that over the last for a long time. And we had asked that we get similar treatment as to some persons in the other sectors get from an arrangement there in Port Zante. And so we know, like up to last 2 meetings ago, when we looked at the amount of farmers who were private operations, that we had about 18 tractors and 17 were down. And the challenge was parts and all these different things. And they will tell you sometimes it's kind of cost prohibitive for them to travel long distances. The fuel car charges just too much. And so we were discussing issues to do with duty-free on fuel, duty-free on different type of vehicles outside of the four-wheel trucks and so forth. Because if you're a farmer, you don't necessarily believe in having a pickup truck as the main. I know that's the predominant prevailing thinking.
Yes.
But some people would like to have vans because of the nature of their operation. If you want a scooter, and because you're dealing with a beehive, somewhere in an hour track, whatever it takes and so forth. So to take off some of those limitations, but we can have those discussions. Also have a pre-approved list of things that don't have to go through the entire process.
And takes forever.
And so on. And so we were also discussing those things. And we are saying that, as I said earlier, having the ID meaning something that when you show up at the port of entry, you don't have to go through too much. You have a list, a database, and it's connected between both agencies.
Brilliant.
And also finally was the issue of the taxation regime that is there. We want to have some conversation. In last night, one of the processors expressed this, and I wanted to share this. He said, imagine a 750 milliliter bottle of green seasoning coming in from Trinidad and Tobago for $3 when it landed here and put on the shelf, right? And the bottle of 330 milliliter with green seasoning here, it has to be sold for $7 that we produce here in St. Kitts, right? The cost of the bottle, the empty bottle, here, when we import those bottles to come here to St. Kitts and Nevis, is more than what the thing. And so we're saying,
shooting yourself in the leg.
Yeah, so we're saying then, how can our producers really compete with this? And because of how the taxing structure is set up, and I guess we'll talk more about that when time comes. And I will have more persons to come on. I won't have to be the one coming.
We're not complaining as long as somebody comes.
Somebody will come, and so hopefully we'll have somebody coming to be more specific and more detailed on some of these issues.
This
so
one is a major one. Like, right? You've just opened a can of worms, so I'm definitely expecting somebody to come back and
will come and do that,
emphasize on that. Wow.
We probably need to have a show on the economies of scale thing and some of the constraints that probably would make it difficult for us to be as competitive as we would want to be in farming. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be trying, and the government shouldn't be doing as much as they can.
Wow. This has been an intense show this morning. I actually made quite a number of notes, so I'm looking forward for you guys to come back. I am definitely intrigued. I'm happy that we're finally moving that needle. And I am looking forward to hearing more and more success stories. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us. And,
Meshach Alford, the president of the consortium, and you're welcome anytime. You coming next week?
Well, I will work out that. Normally we meet before we decide.
Okay, and then decide who's coming.
All right,
okay.
then keep up the good work.
Yes,
we're rooting for you.
Ditto.
Have a good one today.
Okay,
thank you.
Guys, see whoever it is next week. Yeah. Right, okay, great.
Wow.
.9 is Win FM.
Oh, yeah. Quench me thirst, I bust that time now. Watch me, I bust and smile out. Boy. Freestyle, free buster, a freestyle. Watch we are playing full color, meanwhile, one leap of flavor. Every one of them tries, the drink are refreshing and nice. They tell us I buster me buy you with my money. This I everybody drink, I know me one love it. Have it, yeah, for the kids, them daddy harmony. Buster, we playing full color. Correct, I am T.
Magnum. Take charge, take charge, take charge, take charge, take charge. Everybody put a magnum in the air now. From you a drink magnum, let me see. Take charge of things now your place now. From the river to the beach to the street. Hot magnum when me have in a me hand there. He are a sipper, she tell me sweet. Look for me watch for your quick time check. Yeah, Magnum, my life I forget sweeter. Must be 18 years and older to drink responsibly.
Back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I feel like we were having segments now.
Yeah.
All right.
We've been sandwiched.
I know. Where did we stop? Where did we stopped at when the S was added.
When the S was added, that's correct. Yeah. Afrobeats.
Right.
The genre specific.
Right. So you are free to continue. We're giving you extra time.
Well, I think, I think that's where it's at the moment. The beats are there. It's Afrobeats. Is in it's trending.
Do you feel like there is going to be some sort of a competitiveness between that and our dance hall, our reggae, question. Our calypso?
So, the Jamaicans are up in arms. Did you know that, or did you just...
Well, I don't understand.
We're getting bits and pieces of it because
I don't understand why they would be, because the dance hall is trash.
Come closer to the mic.
Maybe your headphones.
I remember the last time.
You're not hearing me?
Mm-mm. Oh, perfect.
Oh, okay.
Great.
No, I was saying the dance hall is trash now. So it is. I mean, John knows what I'm talking about. I mean,
yeah.
Shaggy has said it. Shaggy and a bunch of producers will talk. Do you know? Oh yeah. Do you know, John? John probably knows this. Billboard and Apple stopped. They discontinued their dancehall and reggae charts because it wasn't selling, and it wasn't because people were complaining that the music wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't the fun dancehall. The reggae is there, but they discontinued the dancehall chart.
That's
because all these people are coming in and getting getting their I don't know, Valiant and all these people are not selling. The music doesn't have the legs like it used to in the 90s and the 80s, and so no. I don't even know why it's a competition.
Do you say to that? Do you think it's the content or the competition?
Lyrical content has something to do with it. We just talked about the progression of Afrobeat, the movements of people. Dancehall haven't moved, basically. It is stuck. It's got stuck. It's also people have grown up.
Exactly.
People get older. Then the content, is it relevant anymore? If you look at dancehall and the artists who personify dancehall, they have tattoos all over their necks, and 4 or 5 years ago, before COVID, it was a devil worshipping kind of thing.
So it's not evolution. It's not. This is where we're at. Tattoos are acceptable. Religion is not an issue. What is it? Is it a downward spiral? It's not a growth. No, what?
It's not up. Dancehall is not uplifting, basically. We can sit here all afternoon and talk about dancehall music, where it's come from. I mean, I've heard grown people from this station, commentaries, talk about dancehall music, its effect on the society, the youth, the language, the politics. And it's possibly the worst, put it in inverted commas, the worst part of Caribbean culture is the dance hall. It doesn't reflect the majority of
Do you
people that
think
live in the Caribbean.
Afrobeats is going to replace that in a sense, or is it happening already? And that's why Jamaicans are up in arms.
Absolutely, it's happened already. I mean, at the end of the day, it's, you know, is it a piece of music? Is it uplifting you?
But
is
I
it making you feel happy? Is it making you a better person?
In a weird way, I'm going to agree with you.
And this
by
is like the
disagreeing
new
with you.
dance hall. This is the new dance hall you're saying.
I think you need to change those headphones. I don't think he's hearing you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Try this one.
Let me show you.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you think it's
So
the new dance
can
hall,
you hear
or
me
this
now?
is how you feel
okay.
about dance hall, generally speaking?
Well, I've watched the movement of dancehall. I mean, dancehall, it was a fad.
Mhm.
You know, it was exciting. It gave young people license to say what they wanted to say, to swear, to curse, to make profound sexual lyrics, to do all things that young people want to do, is to shock. You know, young people want to shock. You know, where they.
I mean, but Afrobeats kind of, they have some questionable lyrics as well. I mean,
Yeah,
there's this one song that I actually picked up off of TikTok, and then I realized that it grew. It's a song by Lebanka. When she's saying, I've been drinking more alcohol for the past 5 days.
years,
And, you know, so there are some questionable lyrics. Even with Burna Boy, some of his, he needs Iwo and Shayo. That's what, drink and smokes or whatever. So,
yeah, but
is
dancehall got worse than that. I mean, dancehall got worse than that. I mean, sometimes probably 2 years ago, just before COVID, I mean, some of the lyrics that was coming out from dancehall music, you know, the young people were singing and coming out of speaker boxes. I couldn't believe what these kids are saying.
But you know, you made a statement, and somebody on the chat is actually saying that they said, you know, I don't think that, I doubt the lack of sales in dancehall has anything to do with the appearance of the artists. Rappers are also tatted up and are often accused of being devil worshippers, and rap has been continuously selling. And that's why I was asking, you know, the tattoos is an appearance. Basketball players are tattooed, you know, all over, quite a bit.
Well, I don't think he was saying it was the
is
appearance.
it the content and
It's
the
content.
appearance, or the
I don't
appearance
think
has
it's the
nothing
appearance.
to
I
do
think it's the
with it?
content.
I think it's to do with music
Because
management.
Burna Boy has tattoos all over.
Yeah.
Let's
No
go
one cares
another way.
about tattoos.
Yeah, yeah.
Music management, all right? An artist wants to be heard. Yeah, they want to be heard, and most artists would put it this way: they don't sell their soul. That's pretty extreme. But a lot of artists will go to a lot of extremes to be heard,
To be noticed and heard, right.
And a lot of the lyrics, sometimes you see some of these young boys from Jamaica who say these things. I mean, you know, like...
Oh, definitely. Some of them are really insane. Like, there's some
they're
artists I
insane.
would not listen to, right?
Absolutely.
Because it's so...
Yeah. To be heard. They want to be
extreme,
heard.
yeah.
And they will do that, you know, and the quality control was not there with dancehall music. And
You think it's there with Afrobeats?
Um,
Make a comparison from it.
Oh, is it there with Afrobeats? As I said before, I think I hear poetry in some of the Afrobeat lyrics. I hear that. You know, I feel uplifted. You know, much more than I feel when I listen to dancehall
Is
music.
it the beats and the lyrics? Or?
It's, yeah, beats and the lyrics. And also Afrobeat, it's not just beats. If you listen to, they have a traditional solo. Sometimes they have guitar riffs that's coming from Congolese guitar riffs. You can hear that some of the music is produced by the older ones, or they're even getting samples or inspiration from some traditional music from Ghana, for example. You hear some of those riffs from the 70s, the 80s.
I think that's what pulls,
And
like
it-
you
and it
feel that
pulls you.
stirring on the inside and you
Absolutely,
move.
it's moving you.
So we're thinking, is it that because Afrobeats is growing, because it's more appealing to a wider sector, is it that that's what has the Jamaican artists up in arms? Because you mentioned that they were annoyed and that, you know, so what's your take on it?
Okay.
I think the Jamaican artists are annoyed because the Afrobeats guys are making money as well. Now they're making money. They're making a lot of money. I mean, you heard about what Mr. Boy is getting from St. Kitts Nevis.
Mr. Boy.
Mr.
like
Boy.
that.
We have that proof. Like, listen, I've actually
It's a
want
lot
to
of
know
money.
that figure because there's been so much speculation.
Okay. When was it? A year ago, I was in a conference in Martinique, and it was a music business conference, and they were talking about taking him to Dominica.
Right.
And the Dominican arrangers were there, the festival arrangers, and they told me what they were asking for.
Wow.
And then he was asking then for 300. And by the way, we're talking about US dollars now.
I know, all right, 300,000.
And we're talking
right?
about thousands
right,
as well.
because like the rumor is that he charges 500,000. Yeah. So we were all losing our minds. We were like, well, you might as well let him perform for the 3 days at this price, right?
Yeah, then I heard from the arrangers what happened in Dominica.
Yes.
A lot of disappointment.
Yes.
And then I heard the figures in St. Kitts was up to like the 5.
No way.
I don't know. That's the inside information.
That's what
not,
I heard.
The festival people. I'm not quoting anybody.
Right.
I am telling you what I've heard from the inside information. People who are organizing conferences and concerts and festivals.
He better sing until he passes out.
But I also saw on some documentary on YouTube that he's actually now getting 750,000.
Wow!
And he's got the record now. He had
Afrobeats.
two performances in the America Festival for 750,000 each.
Well, hey, if you can ask for it and get it, why not?
But
This
it's quite
is madness.
interesting. I have a colleague, actually not a colleague, let's be closer, my son. I was talking about Afrobeats years ago, and I said, "Oh, Louis, Afrobeat is going to happen. It's picking up." He said, "Oh, I don't know. It's like 4 or 5 years. I don't know, Papa. I don't know."
Is he into music?
Yeah, he's music. I don't know. It's this. And so I said, "Listen, it's gonna watch it." And then I think it was about a year ago, I got a text from him. And he was at one of the big festivals in Stockholm.
Right.
And he said, "Oh, Burna Boy is on stage." I said, "I told you."
Exactly.
He's going to make it. He says he's not making it. He's on stage. It's 7:30 in the evening. It's the main stage of one of the biggest festivals in Scandinavia. And he's a major act. That means that's money talk. When you're on the biggest stage
and the major
and there's 30,000 people there at this festival and you're the major act, of course you want major money. So you're talking about 1 million
and euro probably
in euros.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a market force. The fact that we're paying that amount of money and saying it's what the market is carrying.
Exactly.
It's not him has to sing his heart out for that price.
Yeah.
That's what the market
That's
is
what
carrying.
the going rate is.
That's what the going rate is. And if he doesn't ask for that, he's not paying justice to himself and in the music industry.
Yeah, I heard some
it's
of the
music
other crazy
industry.
demands. Wow. Yeah.
And festivals can't afford that. Our festival, we have 3,000 people inside the stadium. It's not a festival of gigantic proportions.
Right.
And if we're going to enter the market, we have to pay market prices.
Yep.
And the market prices for at this day, when he leaves here, he's going to go to the United States. It's summertime in Europe.
Yeah, I think he has some concerts in the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands, and they're going to be 20,000 people there. He's going to play at 7 o'clock in the evening, and he's with the main stage. And the artist before him is going to ask for 1 million, and the artist after him is going to ask for 1 million. So what he's going to ask for?
Exactly. He has to up it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So we have to stop this. We have to stop this whine and go, "Oh, you're paying him all this money." That's what the market.
That's what the going rate is.
Exactly.
You can't expect me to sell
ridiculous.
under because of your
and then
festival
people
is smaller.
and then people are getting their panties in a bunch about his technical writer has he wants
the whole hotel booked
I'm like, give me a break. That's standard. This is what these people. This is what you have to do.
Yeah, but then the festival people have to. Excuse me. They have to decide as festival managers. Look,
where the buck stops.
Where the buck stops. The artists, they try it.
Yeah,
of
course, you have to.
You have to.
It would. You listen. If I'm coming to the negotiating table, I'm putting all of the stuff that I want out, and I'm going higher. Yes. The person has to come back and say, all right, no, we can't, this is where we're at, this is what we can provide, and you come to a middle ground.
I want sparkly water, and I don't want it bubbly. I would just say, no.
I want some lemons on the side.
We have island purified here. That's island purified. That's what we have.
That's just standard.
The end of the game.
Oh my goodness! This has been quite an entertaining conversation.
It has been. Yeah.
I love it.
And then we know we have
taking us through that entire.
Quick before we realize we have another afrobeat beats artist. Yeah, make sure put the S. Another one at White Sands. Fields, the guy who did Finesse.
Oh right.
Finesse, yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah, he's gonna be at. So we have two big.
Actually have to go to White Sands.
Two big Afrobeats.
Well, it's wonderful that the St. Kitts Music Festival has got to the level where we're actually getting artists that are up there.
Right, okay. And they're going with the trend.
I mean, okay, we'd have Shaggy. Okay, great, fantastic. We had him before. We can have Sean Paul. It's great. But to actually get an artist that is up there, that is currently trending, up there with all the major festivals, it brings our festival up to.
I was very happy to see that. And then before we even got this close to festival, Byron made his hit, and so now he is currently trending.
And yes, Byron is.
So
and that's one of the.
I love to see it. I love the fact that you can see evolution. You can see growth. We are moving.
You guys realize that technically you could say, okay, maybe Burna Boy is in a class by himself, but technically Byron Messiah and Chronix and Coffee are like on the same level, more or less.
Yeah.
And that's happened very.
And Byron is the newest one, so yeah. Definitely.
Exactly.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
It's supposed to be like that.
Yes, it is supposed to be that way. So finally,
we've been a review festival for many years.
I know.
We reviews. But it's after some time you have to become a festival that people would buy air tickets.
Right. We have headliners this year, so let's see. I would love to see what the numbers are in terms of attendance after the festival.
Yeah.
I think for us it doesn't really matter because people talk big numbers, but at the end of the day, you got 3,000 people in there. People say we have 7,000-8,000. That's not true.
I didn't mean the inflated numbers, the actual numbers.
Actual numbers. You could see. As a professional, you can see how.
So Trump is doing the PR.
Oh gosh! Well, let me tell you, it would be a bigly festival.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It has been very educational and entertaining.
Okay, no problem.
Come see us again soon.
Well, of course.
Definitely.
I'm here all the time.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks.
And I'll come check you out on the beach. So have a good one today.
Okay, cheers.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you're going to the festival, right?
Tickets.
Is that a question?
Tickets, okay.
Tickets. Festival people. Where are the tickets?
I know. We've been asking for tickets for 2 weeks now. Did we get any tickets to do even giveaways?
Well, actually, I have one, but it's for the spin cycle.
Look at that. So how come Island Tea does... Listen, I'm coming at you after off air.
This is this is for Friday. So, okay, we can give away this tomorrow morning.
All right, then, tomorrow.
Okay, I'll leave it for tomorrow morning then.
Great.
Okay, I'll leave it for tomorrow
You got to call in. Have a good one today, everyone.
Tomorrow's what?
Tomorrow's Thursday.
Right? Yeah, okay. So we'll give away one for Friday tomorrow morning.
Okay.
All right. I feel better now.
Okay.
Have a good one today, everyone. Thank you for joining Island Tea.
Okay, John.
Bye-bye.
It was great. And educational too.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
That was a buzz.
It was, right?
Really good. You know your stuff.
Thank you.
That's really good.
I could feel that. Saved my life, but hey, that never stopped me.
So yeah, I'm gonna have what you call it. I'm supposed to be doing voices today, right? And we are going to have we're gonna have a panel from we're gonna have the NEMA officials in here. We're going to be talking about that that disturbance that may be approaching, and hopefully it might not turn out to be as, if we're lucky, it might not turn out to be as bad as we were thinking, right? So I'm going to have Abdias Samuel and his team. They're going to be here for voices, and they'll take your questions, and we will be discussing hurricane preparedness, because as you guys know, the hurricane season actually starts today, and I think today is actually the official start of summer. So there you go. Spin Cycle coming up next, and then that's going to be followed by Voices at 11. Don't forget, Nima, Aptia Samuel and his team, will be our guests on Voices. And Spin Cycle is next.